kind words, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the first item up is I need approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have public comments. And we have a letter to the Namnoster Board of Education and the Namnoster School District Central Office. On behalf of the entire Everett's family, we say many thanks to you all. Your support and encouragement the 9 months that Danny was fighting brain cancer was amazing. The fundraiser last fall was one of the most humbling things we ever went through. The monetary donation paid for many trips to Kansas City and gas. During our stay in the hospital, the phone calls, cards, hugs, and visits were very thoughtful. They really kept us charged and ready to face another day. Danny had several obstacles along the way. He fought so very hard, and finally a stroke and brain bleed took his life. Thank you to Bud Faring for his guidance with all of the paperwork. Thanks to all who went right into action getting arrangements made at the middle school for the funeral. It was lovely, and I could not have imagined a better service. It was obvious the love for Danny as to the turnout. It was equally overwhelming to our family and friends how you took care of us. We had countless positive remarks on the district as a whole. Danny loved the students, especially the special needs students, and he loved the Namnoster School District. Your kindness will not be forgotten. Blessings to all the Danny Everett's family. And we want to give a mention to Dean Parrott, who passed away this past week. And now we have the Whiteman report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. So a couple things tonight to present from Whiteman report. Kind of a fun fact to start with. Happy to report, in case you didn't know, those of us in uniform here are probably tracking this, but this week, the U.S. Air Force turned 70 years old. On September 18th, 1947, Chief Justice Fred Vinson swore Stuart Symington as the first Secretary of the Air Force, officially founding a new branch of the U.S. military. Whiteman will be celebrating the 70th birthday of the Air Force this Friday with the Air Force Ball. So most of you probably know that prior to 70 years ago, the Air Force did exist, but it was known as the Army Air Force. So, just kind of a little fun fact there. On another note, the base was very busy last week, so you may be aware of that. We went through a nuclear surety inspection, and I'll kind of this kind of a quote really from General Nichols. Whiteman's mission is the Air Force's #1 priority. Team Whiteman clearly demonstrated that it is safe, secure, and effective 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 per year. In his words, is our airmen out there absolutely rocked it. So, we're proud of the airmen. They absolutely showed their true colors this past week. Kind of want to just make sure that everybody is tracking that. It's a significant event in Whiteman's daily operations. Also have to report that the base has hired a full-time exceptional family member program, family support coordinator, She's here tonight. Some of you may know Cindy Girdlejack. Probably a familiar face. She has been one of the schools in Flags for the last 2 years. She'll be visiting our schools and sharing resources with our military connected families. And in addition to that, she'll also serve as the alternate civilian school liaison to Sinai and Brooklyn. And then on a final note, just wanted to kind of say thank you to many of the folks here in attendance, to the board, and really to all those that kicked in and really provided support to a family that's connected to the base. Recently, one of our service members experienced a house fire. So just thank you for all of the support from the school district, the local community, for coming together, augmenting some of the services the military can provide, really taking care of that family. So that really shows a true community effort, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you. If anyone wants questions, that concludes the White report. Now that I'm done talking about air conditioner. I think that was planned. My core on
Thank you. We now have presentations.
So this month we have a large group that is coming in that we are honoring. They're spread out throughout the cafeteria here. We started this, and Donna, please help me here. We started the back to school block party a couple years ago. How many years has it been, Donna? 10 years ago. So it's been going strong since then. Donna's taken over, and as you can tell, it is really just kind of blown up, and it's a great event, not only for our students to be able to come in and get that kind of back to school jitters out of the way and just reconnect with some friends that they've lost touch with over the summer, but also our new students that are coming in, not only to non-Nostra area, but also our base students. And so it is a great event. We truly appreciate everybody that takes part in those events, and we have a lot of them here tonight. It is not possible for me to probably read off every name, and I would miss somebody, and I would feel really bad about doing that. We do have a video to show you from the block party, so we're going to pull that up here, show you the video. After we get done, we're going to pull you up, and we have some slides up that have everybody's name up there, and we'll cycle through those slides as well. And then we'd like to get a picture of you with our board. So please enjoy this video that we hope. as you can see, from backpacks to bouncy houses. We had a great time, and it's supposed to be for the kids, but I saw a lot of smiling adults in there as well. So if you had a part in our back to school block party, if you would please stand so we can give you another big round of applause. All right, we'd also like you guys to come forward up here, and we're going to get a picture of you for, I think we probably can do them all at the same time. So if we get everybody that had a part in the block party, please come up here.
Where can I hide? Right here, perfect.
All right, we're gonna take about 1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So thank you, Partners in Education. We do have a certificate for you. Actually, we set them up out on a table out in the hall. You are welcome to stay for all our meetings, or you can grab your certificate and go. But we do truly appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all so much. We have the rest of the director's reports on there. If there aren't any questions from the school board, then we will move on. Okay, we will move on to the MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of September. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the makeup of the State Board of Education. Governor Greitens is putting his mark on the State Board of Education through some appointments to the 8-member board. In August, the governor appointed Melissa Gelner of Springfield and Eddie Justice of Poplar Bluff to the state board. They were sworn in during the board's August meeting. However, the governor later withdrew Gelner's appointment. Gelner then issued a statement in which she said she was frustrated by the governor's policy team and the little effort from them to collaborate with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to work on behalf of our public schools. She added, "I'm also concerned about the pressure I've recently experienced to make rash decisions." 2 additional members were appointed by the governor in late August and were sworn in at the September meeting. The new state board members can begin their service immediately, but are subject to confirmation by the Missouri Senate. They serve staggered 8-year terms. No more than 4 members can belong to the same political party, and no more than 1 member can be from the same county or congressional district. The state board has considerable influence over education policy on the state level and appoints the Commissioner of Education. MSBA officers and staff attend the monthly meetings of the state board. During its August meeting, the state board approved Missouri's plan under the federal government's Every Student Succeeds Act. Each state must submit a plan under the federal law. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has worked on the plan for a year and held 9 regional meetings to hear from the public on what matters most in the education of children. In a presentation to the state board, Assistant Commissioner Dr. Chris Neal characterized the document as a skinny plan that satisfies federal requirements but doesn't go beyond that. Neal says the Missouri School Improvement Plan will continue to be the primary driver of school improvement for schools throughout the state.
Missouri believes that the Missouri School Improvement Plan is a primary improvement driver. We continue to believe that is the proper way to affect systemic improvement to all districts and charter LEAs. But ESSA is important, fairly narrow, but important, a part of our approach to improving schools, primarily through that statewide system of support for school improvement, through the aspects of improving and supporting our educators and our educational leaders, and finally in Title IV specifically to increase equitable access to high quality education.
The State Board of Education will consider adopting the latest version of the Missouri School Improvement Plan for public comment at its October meeting. The MSBA Delegate Assembly will be considering an important document of its own at a meeting on October 6th at the Lake of the Ozarks. The Delegate Assembly will be considering MSBA's proposed advocacy positions document that combines 3 previous documents: legislative resolutions, MSBA's platform statements, and position statements contained in the Missouri Public Education Vision Project report. The Advocacy Committee and Executive Committee have spent the past year working on combining those documents.
The purpose of doing this, having a new document, is for us to have one concise document that we as an organization have our stance on all legislative issues affecting public education for us as board members, and more importantly for our MSBA staff to help in advocacy efforts as we work with our legislators throughout the year, but most especially through the legislative session.
Neese adds the new advocacy positions document will make MSBA and local board members even more effective advocates for public education.
And I know that as a local board member, and all of us as local board members try to be as non-partisan as we can when it comes to issues, because we have to do what's best for kids, and it could be on either side of the aisle, but our focus is on our children, our students, and their success in schools. And these are positions that we feel are extremely important to help our students succeed in their schools and then in their lives.
Every MSBA member school board is entitled to send at least one voting delegate to the Delegate Assembly that will be held in conjunction with the 2017 MSBA Annual Conference. Be sure your school board is represented at the Delegate Assembly. There is still time to register for the annual conference that will be held October 5th through 8th at the Lake of the Ozarks. The event features outstanding keynote speakers and 130 breakout sessions on a wide range of topics of interest to school board members and administrators. The annual MSBA School Personnel Information Survey is now open. This survey collects information on the wages, salaries, and benefits of teachers and other school employees to help boards and administrators make fully informed personnel decisions. Member districts that complete the survey and submit their salary schedules and collective bargaining agreements by November 13th receive free access to the data collected. Make sure your district's information is included in this year's database. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thanks for those who have chosen to stick around and join us for the duration tonight. We'll keep it short. Before I get to my report, I want to talk a little bit, piggyback on the MSBA report. We do look forward to attending with those who have signed up for the upcoming MSBA annual meeting at Tantera. And again, we will be presenting as a team on collective bargaining in one of those breakout sessions, and we look forward to that. Obviously, there's some political turmoil going on at the state. As early or as late as this morning in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, there's an article that expresses in no uncertain terms that there is an effort by our governor to remove our commissioner and appoint a person that has been selected. The impact of that, obviously, the push for vouchers and open enrollment and school choice is really what we're after here. So Mr. Corin and I had the opportunity to speak in person with our commissioner this morning in Warrensburg at our mass meeting, and again reassured her that we appreciate her leadership, and just want to say that she's spent time in our district on a couple of occasions supporting our students here locally, but that's not unique to Knob Noster. During her time in the office, she is the state from corner to corner and side to side, visiting school districts, building relationships, and putting public school students in public schools first. So we do appreciate her leadership and certainly hope that we can find our way in keeping on the path that we're on. So that being said, just wanted you to hear that from us, and we appreciate her and all that she does. In my report, probably the highlight that tops the list is the district was recently notified that we are a recipient of a $1.25 million military child academic support programs grant. So we're pleased to announce that. Dr. Van Dieden was already aware of that through Joe Driscoll, our military advocate, and she said that she looks forward to joining us again in the district soon to celebrate that. So we're excited about that, and we appreciate all the help that went into that, and really that grant is, we'll cover that later in the agenda, but it will continue to expand and carry on with some of the programs that we've started, and we're excited about what that will bring. In other news, the first month has gone extremely well. The block party that was hosted by so many of our volunteers was a great kickoff to the first couple of days of school. And I think every year, I've only experienced it 3 times now, but it just keeps getting better and bigger. And we certainly appreciate how that generates excitement to start our school year. So that's gone well. First month of school has flown by. Last week was homecoming, which was full of fun activities. I think every sports team won, with the exception of football, which was a sad deal. We were hoping to pull away with that one, but aside from that, everything was great. I want to send a special thank you to Ms. Eva Allen and her team, students who are putting together our Panther Spirit shirts. Every student and employee in the district received shirts, and we wore those last Friday. And the team looked pretty good for the parade, and I was very proud of what Ms. Allen and her students kind of carried forward and delivered for our community. So thank you to that group. Transportation and food service programs continue to sort out details. I won't say that transportation is going as smoothly as we would like, but it's, we continue to try to move past obstacles. If anyone in the community knows of anyone who would like to drive a bus for us on a regular basis or a substitute position, we would be glad to speak with them. So please help spread the word. We will get our bus back out with our nice signs and try to generate some more help in that department. Part of that is, the majority of that increased demand is falling on our special needs department and then new programs such as sending students over to State Fair College this year. We're sending some special needs students on all directions out of the district. So the complexity of that program continues to increase, and we use all the help we can get. Food service wise, things are going pretty smoothly. We did have one major fiasco. We had beef patties on Chicken Patty Day, and the world didn't quite stop spinning, but it almost did. So there are big issues in public education we try to address, that being one of them. So we will not make the mistake and get beef patties instead of chicken patties again. In other news, the district last week, we were able to submit an Impact Aid discretionary construction grant. That is a every other year. I'm not sure, it's like every year or every other year depending on funding, but that's a competitive opportunity that's opened up for only districts that have the inability to raise funds locally with a $25 million assessed valuation or less, or districts with $25 million or more who have bonded indebtedness of 75% or greater, or the way that we qualify is we're a heavily impacted school district. So we've put that in to try to bring some additional funds into the district to support some of our needs. I did just find out this afternoon, about an hour ago, that Knob-Nuster has actually been selected next week to present in the United States Capitol on this very topic. So we will be used as a case study of the need to bring additional facilities monies into heavily impacted school districts. So on Tuesday morning, I'll comb my hair and make sure that I look good in representing with my B2 pen. And we'll be talking to the folks in the Capitol. The press will be there, and we'll put our best foot forward to try to generate funds for our facilities. So I might be on C-SPAN for the first time, for a good thing, hopefully. All right. So we'll look forward to that, and we will know on that grant sometime around February. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Activities for this month, we have, again, our base community council meeting. We also have on some point in October, the date has not been set, but we want to do a meeting with the Whiteman Area Leadership Council, base community council, and local civic leaders to just kind of bring together how we work together to support our communities and to support Whiteman Air Force Base. So we look forward to that. This Saturday is the Air Force Ball. We look forward to celebrating 70 years, and hopefully everybody isn't falling apart, sir. I haven't heard, but I just saw, so I will catch that later, but hopefully you're doing okay. Okay. Sunday through Thursday is the NAPIS fall meeting, and then that first week in October and weekend we have an MSBA fall meeting. All right, so enrollment for the month ending, Knob-Nuster Elementary 393 with a 96.06%. Knob-Nuster Middle School 472, 96.48. Knob-Nuster High School 360 with 96.78. Whiteman Elementary School 321 with 96.50. District total enrollment is 1547. And it looks like Knob-Nuster High School comes away with the Gold Star for attendance. So nicely done. Keep up the good work. Middle school, we're counting on you. You carry the most kids, so we'll send chicken patties your way.
Or beef.
Or beef. Last but not least, our month ending financial reports balances in month end was $560,689. Revenues month ending $2,559,820, which is 15.7% anticipated. Expenditures $1,017,384, which is 6.2% of budget. Important to note in that revenues funds is that $1.2 million in impact aid. Again, that was that first or that last payment that we expected in the prior fiscal year. So we're happy to see that come in. And then since that time, we've received another 1.7, I believe, in our first impact aid payment for this year. So we'll see that reflected in next year or next month's revenues. And that concludes my report.
On that late payment on the impact aid, was that retro back to last year's budget, or did you just carry it forward this year's budget?
So that will be reflected in this year's budget since it came in after we closed the fiscal year on June 30. So again, if we look back at last year's revenues, they're going to be significantly lower, about 1.3 to 1.5 lower than what was anticipated. This year's revenue numbers should be inflated upward. So we'll see that spike this year, but then next year we'll anticipate that dropping back down.
So you're just going to carry it through as a surplus then for now? Or is it going to go into a different fund?
We will carry that right now. We're probably going to put our impact aid first payments in Fund 1 because we were a little bit surprised last year after we had deposited those initial payments in 4. But as the year goes on, if we carry on as projected, we'll decide what we want to put those last payments. But I want to be sure that we don't get too aggressive in moving funds over into 4. But then we'll carry forward and we can look for what we want to do with that closer to the end of this year.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler. And from the board, as far as those grants go, just 6 words: more money, more money, more money. But seriously, thank you for going out there and searching for these grants and doing all the work and the research to bring that money to this district. I mean, seriously, that's a huge payment, and that's phenomenal. So thank you very much. Approval of the consent agenda. I will give a motion on that.
Make a motion to
All in favor? Aye. Approval of bills requiring extensions. I need a motion for that, please.
Make a motion to approve the bill requiring extension. Second.
All in favor? Abstain? Approval of bills full board.
Make a motion to approve the bill requiring.
All in favor? Aye.
You second.
I need a motion to set the November regular meeting for November 8th instead of the 3rd Wednesday of November.
Well, so we have, after we received the grant, we were notified that we have the post-award meeting that will require the attendance of Mr. Forum and myself out of state on that. We have to leave that Tuesday evening to be there for Wednesday morning through Saturday evening. So that will move that up. We could move it back a week, but we have the Thanksgiving week after that. So we're going to move it up to that second Wednesday on the 8th.
I make a motion that we adopt the schedule change for the meeting of the Senate.
Second, representing from financial.
And they, on our bills, we're just going to have to make haste to try to get that in. And then we may end up, if we see any areas where we have penalties, we may have to produce some field checks to avoid any penalties. But I think Kelly can get that addressed.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have a district academic assessment review, and this is for discussion and information only.
Okay, so I've put together just our district data. So this is our map, our EOC, and our ACT data all in one. As the ACT is a separate line item on the board doc, so I can stop there once we get there. And our PowerPoint keeps going. I do want to make mention that this is just preliminary data, and I will explain that as soon as it comes up.
Can you open it? Is that what you're trying to do? I don't think you're.
So once again, this is actually just preliminary data. The reason why that we're calling it preliminary data is we did receive word that our Algebra 1 and also our ELA 2 EOC scores, once they got the scores back, there was some question in DESI on the validity of the scores altogether. The individual scores, they're saying that they're okay. When they composited the scores together for the entire state, they started to get some red flags. So they've actually thrown that data out, and the Algebra 1 and ELA 2 scores will not this year be a part of our APR. So it will not affect us, it won't hurt us, it won't help us in any way. But we do have our biology and our Algebra 2 EOCs represented on this data again. So once again, just preliminary district data points.
What was the red flags that was running on the issue?
Basically, what happened was when they got the data back from ELA 1 or Algebra 1 and ELA 2, when they looked at that data and composite to the previous scores before, the years before, there was such a discrepancy that they actually ended up tossing those scores out.
Discrepancy as in higher, lower?
That was not given to us, but that is not just, it's not just Knob-Noster, that was for the entire state.
Is this the same issue we had like, what, just 2 years ago?
There was some question, it was not thrown out like this and not part of the APR, but there was some question on some of the testing tests.
So is it a problem with the actual testing, or is it a problem with being corrupted or cheating on it? What are they giving any kind of indicators whatsoever?
Not a whole lot, no. We're not giving a whole lot of information. It's not a cheating issue, anything like that. The issue basically is coming down to, I believe, like I said, a company and the products they're pushing out. So I don't have a whole lot of information on that, so I would hate to misspeak.
Well, it seems like this happens every couple of years. They're having an issue with the testing process, which I don't get that.
Well, the first one was because they were switching over from this way to this way. So the data wasn't going to match up.
So now we're gonna be switching from now
So now we're
to
going
something
on
else.
with it, well, we're running on. Now we've got the testing, we're running on with it, but now there's a problem with these two areas. So we have to roll it out.
So that particular test will not be used going forward for Algebra 1, ELA 2. It was the same company for biology and Algebra 2 as well, and it will not be used going forward. I can't say if it's going to be the same company or not because I have not been given that answer, so I do not know that.
But the hardest part to believe on is you would think that there would be massive amounts of beta testing done prior to the product being released to districts to test on. And then all of a sudden coming up at the end of the test cycle going, we just decided this is going to work for everybody. That's the hard part that's hard to swallow.
Well,
You try to prepare your students the best you can, and then to have them just tossed out like that is.
right, the individual student scores will count. So the individual student score does count. It does not hurt them. My son took the Algebra 1 as an 8th grader. He does not have to take it again because he did reach proficiency on that test. So it's not going to affect them in that way. So the students aren't going to have to go back and take that over again. It also does not affect the A+. So that's a positive that they're working with this today. Speaking to the beta testing, we actually have been part of that within our school. I believe we're actually going to do that again for this next round of testing as well. So there is beta testing that goes on. Like I said, we're not getting a whole lot of information about it. We're kind of skimming the surface of going to account for our APR. And as of right now, they're trying to figure out how they can basically accommodate our APR without those two scores being represented in that way.
But it is a statewide.
It is statewide.
And I will say that even in elementary, I don't deal with the high school stuff, but in elementary, even rolling out the new program, they didn't have like the practice test for us to roll out until like 2 or 3 weeks before we were actually supposed to take a regular test. So, I mean, it's telling people that don't know anything about education, they're actually getting our scores. So it's really hard.
So I guess one of the questions I have is, through no fault of our own, we have the same problem that all these other districts have statewide. Now, we didn't choose this contractor to go to put the testing out.
Absolutely not. That's chosen at the state level.
So yes, it does that.
Does that have any effect on like college type testing or is any of that used for secondary education?
It is not. The primary test for that is our ACT.
Well, I just didn't know if it would have had some balance or effect on it that would, at a college level, that was used from high school to college, affect that area.
No, so those end of course exams are basically just to show proficiency that you had learned what you were expected to learn to finish that.
So a couple of things here to think about regarding the mistake itself. The state, as we understand, they are in a legal situation with Questar, the assessment provider. So the board probably can understand that there's not a lot being said. Once you get into a legal situation, everybody kind of zips up. So that's one of the reasons why we're not getting a lot of information. But if we go back 3, 4, 5 years and we look at the budget reduction initiatives, there was a significant amount of money that was reduced from the assessment line item. And sometimes this very well may be a case if you get what you pay for. And that's part of the other issue that ties into the need to protect every public dollar that we can and make sure that it's not going to vouchers or to school choice. So we kind of some of the issues from the past are catching up with us. So that's one piece. The other part of my comment would be you're asking a lot of the right questions. And we talked now about re-energizing our focus on ACT because that is a stable assessment that does carry weight with college placement, with how we're measured, not just by our state, but across the nation and every other new assessment of the week that comes out online. They're going to peg that ACT as one of the big measuring sticks. So we spent quite a bit of time developing an action plan, and we will roll that out in the next month or so to the board. And then the next piece is for our teachers, the takeaway is last year, this is not a lot different than the Common Core because that whole debacle was focused on standards. Now we're shifting it to the other end on assessment. But what we've told our teachers is let's be purposeful in what we're doing. Let's not worry so much about what's going on at the state level and start back at the basics, set our priority standards per course, per grade level per subject. And all the stuff going on around, we're going to stay true to those priority standards that have been adopted locally. We don't have to change those when the name changes or the focus changes. We stay true to those and we make those changes as we see fit, and that will provide us consistency on what we're teaching too. And we're now moving to the other end of that through our instruction to assessment to try to establish our common formative assessments so that we can have reliable, valid data as we move forward to assess our students and determine mastery and need for reteaching. So that's kind of where we're going. If the teachers will sit back and look at that and continue to work with us, I think we're going to develop our system that will be resilient to some of the nonsense. Because that's what we do here locally is 100% within our control.
So the cumulative data throughout the year that is all, I'm sure, was collected throughout the district. Has it? What is the balance of it as compared to what the state has sent back to, in comparison, where does it set itself up with our cumulative data compared to their assessments?
It's going to depend, and honestly, we don't know what that APR looks like, or what it's even going to look like, because normally they're taking that back 3 years in a rear, and they're looking at kind of growth over that 3 years. Well, obviously, we're now having 2 tests that we've taken pulled out of that, so there's no way to go back and to compare that data going 3 years in a rear. It's going to all have to start over again. And then next year, once they add out the 1 year and 2 back into it again, that's going to affect what happened this year as well on the APR. So right now, what they're doing at DESE is they're trying to figure out how to prepare that APR and that cumulative data to be able to recognize the work that we have done throughout last year so we don't lose that year. Obviously, we haven't lost that year. As Dr. Wheeler said, it's almost like we knew this was coming, and we had started to make a contingency plan already before as we started to set those priority standards, look at our common formative assessments, and let our teachers go about doing the best job that they can do, which is actually teach. And let us focus on the hoops and the jumps and the things that are coming from the content.
But hopefully they don't just drop a 0 on it and eliminate it, that they would at least give you the same credit for those 2 areas as they did last year. To roll it into it so you can somewhat stay in the same balance instead of coming in at an all-time scoring record last year, and then all of a sudden you dump off to 80% because these 2 areas are gone now. Hopefully they'll consider that and at least work it in at that level where we can be somewhat close to what we were.
I agree with Dan. What if those results come out from DESE that negatively impact us? Because more people are just shocked.
So when I was sitting out there as a principal 8 to 10 years ago, I remember a superintendent saying, "We are not going to talk about adequate yearly progress anymore because it's pointless. and it has no credibility. 100% of all students are going to score proficient or advanced in all areas. So what I would tell you, I wouldn't be too overly concerned. Whatever happens to us is going to happen to everyone, and the state isn't going to, they're not going to make a decision that's going to have a detrimental effect on everyone. And if they do, we're all in the same boat together. So I say we look at what we're doing. I would send a big thank you to the teaching and learning focus group and the work they did in spring of 2016 to align our assessment plan and align STAR 360 and math and kind of get us on the right track there. So that will play big dividends right now as we navigate through this. But I wouldn't get worked up about it. It's more of an FYI. If there was a mistake made, we're moving forward and we'll wait and see what they do. In the meantime, we've got business to take care of every day.
And to be perfectly transparent and honest with you, the state obviously saw something that wasn't going to be detrimental. They red flagged it, and so they decided to act upon it. And in this, it's credit, they've been very transparent with this. They have been out in front of this and communicated very well with the district. So we truly appreciate their leadership as well within this. But getting into our preliminary data, and once again, this could change based upon that APR and what comes back to us. But we did want to get this out there to you to be able to see as well. So K&E, our third grade, with our ELA, their scores came back. With the ELA, you can see their percent of proficient and advanced there, 72%. And in comparison to last year, you can see our difference there between this year and last year. So great growth there over ELA at K&E with our students. A lot of that didn't come up there with the state average. But so 72%, and then the state is 62%. And then if we look at that compared to last year, so you can see our growth there of 72% proficient or advanced, and last year we got 57%. And our state stayed right up the same, about 61, 62%. So third grade ELA, those teachers really rocked it. Third grade math, here at K&E, you can see our advanced and proficient on here. And I'm going to kind of skim through these first ones because that last slide really gives us the meat and potatoes of the information. In comparison to last year, you can see our percentages based over our advanced and proficient students. And then as we look at our state average compared to us, that bar looks really humongous there, but please pay attention to the fact that really is only 4%. I did work on that, Mrs. Bell, and I tried as much as I possibly could, but that bar stayed humongous on us there. So you can see our growth from 2016 to 17 at 47% to 49. The state did eke us out just a little bit at 52 and 53 respectively through those years. And I have talked with Mrs. Bell. We do have a plan going forward on how to address this as well and help them out as much as possible. So fourth grade here at K&E, their ELA scores, you can see proficient advanced on the pie chart. Once again, I'll kind of go through these and get towards those later slides. In comparison to last year, so 68% of our students scored proficient or advanced, and so it goes on the other side too. The state looks really bad there, but it's once again 4% at 64% proficient advanced for the state. And in comparison, we did drop just a little bit on our student proficient and advanced from 70 to 68, and the state average stayed right about the same, 63 and 64 respectively on ELA. Our K&E math fourth grade, you can see our proficient and advanced there at 32% advanced and 39% proficient, in comparison to last year as well. So we did have 71% of our students come out with proficient advanced on the math, and only 54%. So even though that looks close, it really looks a lot bigger. Obviously, PowerPoint did not help me out here. So from 76 to 71, we are still at 70% of our students who are proficient advanced in mathematics, and that is a true testament to our teachers and their effectiveness in the classroom and the leadership that comes at community. So that they rock from that school. Down at Whiteman Elementary, third grade ELA. So we've got 75% of our students in proficient advanced in third grade ELA, comparison to last year about 78%. The state average once again for ELA is going to stay the same, 62% in third grade. We did drop about 2%, but we have 75% of our students, once again, 3 out of 4 students scoring proficient advanced. So amazing to point that out, and 61 and 62% for the state respectively. Their math scores in third grade. You can see our proficient advanced in comparison to last year. So our overall total was 63% of our students scoring proficient advanced compared to the state average, which is 53. In comparison to last year, tremendous growth for our third grade math scores in comparison to last year's. Please pay attention to that 45% as we flip over to our fourth grade and we see the growth that those students had in 2017. Because honestly, when we look at these scores and we're looking at 2016 to 17, we're really comparing apples to oranges. We're comparing last year's third graders to this year's third graders. But I do want to point out the growth that we see in those students going from third grade to fourth grade, which would be more apples to apples comparison. So their fourth grade, their ELA, see our proficient advanced there, which is amazing in comparison to last year. So we have 80% of our students in fourth grade ELA scoring proficient advanced compared to the state average of 64%. So a tremendous difference there with our Whiteman crew on fourth grade ELA. And then, as you can see, remember that that's not the math on never mind. So 80%, I got ahead of myself. I got all excited. 75% in 16, 80% in 2017, and 63 and 64 for the state respectively. Now our math scores for fourth grade out at Whiteman. You can see our percent of proficient advanced, which you can do the math there. We're already well above that 45. So comparison to last year, so from 45 to 59%. So that's great growth. When we actually compare apples to apples and what those third grade kids did in third grade and the growth that we now see in fourth grade, you can see tremendous growth. And the state average being there at 54%. So a slight drop, but once again, apples to apples, great growth there for our students. All right, Knob Middle School, our fifth grade in ELA. You can see this year's proficient advanced on that the pie chart. Flipping over in comparison to last year's students. So we had a total of 62%, and that looks humongous, but it is one tiny percent there. So 62% of our students, the state average was 63%. And you can see 64% to 62, and then the 62 to 63 there for the ELA. So we are right there. Talking with Julie, Mrs. Andrade. She is already coming up with plans, and we've been discussing, and her main goal is to make sure that in all areas across the board, we do beat that state average. I think through our leadership and those, we will definitely do that. And then the math scores for fifth grade. You can see our percent of proficient advanced respectively, in comparison to last year. So we have 46%, and it's only a 2% differential there. 46% of our students in advanced and proficient, and 48% for the state. You can see our comparison from last year, so you can see the growth that we had between years. Those aren't the same students, but we did have growth there from 40 to 46. Our fifth grade also, this is the first year that they take the science test. So non-National Middle School science map data, you can see our proficient and advanced. Comparison to last year. And based on the state, it is a 5% differential. 41% of our students scoring proficient and advanced, 46 in the state. And then the comparison from year to year, 2016 to 17. So a slight drop there on our fifth grade science. Sixth grade just takes ELA and math. So their ELA scores, you can see our proficient and advanced. Great proficiency there, 48% of our students. In comparison to last year, we are right at the same. So 64% of our students in comparison to the state average, which was 60. And like I said, even Stevens across the board, 16, 17 for us, and 64. The state did grow just a little bit there, 58 to 60. And our math, ELA, our comparison data here, proficient and advanced students. Comparison to last year. So 47% of our students were proficient and advanced compared to the state average of 43%. And then you can see our data across the board, comparison from 2016 to 17, and our students proficient and advanced. Seventh grade also just takes ELA and math. So 61% in comparison to last year, which is slightly down. So 61, the state average was 59, so 2% differential there. Again, that's a lot bigger. So 72 to 61, we still are above the state average of 59% in ELA. In math in seventh grade, we can see our average there of 47. And the state average was actually 43%. In comparison to last year, the state average was 42. It rose just a little bit. We did drop just a little bit from 49 to 47. When we get into eighth grade again, our students actually take 3 tests again. They will take ELA, math, and then also be tested in science once again. Our middle school gets the great pleasure of the most testing. And every student in that school tests all the time. So you can see our comparison there with our ELA math, proficient and advanced, compared to our basic and below basic. Comparisons to last year as well. So we had 70% of our students in ELA score proficient and advanced, and a huge comparison and difference between the state at 60%. So proud of what they did over there in eighth grade ELA. And you can see that we rose, along with the state raising 1%, we actually rose up 3. Their math, you can see this. I do want to make just one announcement with this. This math data does not include our Algebra 1 students, which neither did the state average amount. So, but that Algebra 1 EOC is not included in this data here. This is our students that are in our regular math class within eighth grade. So comparison to last year, so you can see the basic and below basic as well. So we had 35% of our students scoring at proficient and advanced, and the state average was 30%. Once again, this does not include our Algebra 1 students.
Can you back up one slide? Why is there such a large difference in the? Well, that's the advanced. Okay.
For in 2016, we had 2% of our students score advanced, and we had 10% growth in that area, which is the area we definitely want to see the most growth in. So we had 12% of our students score advanced in that area, which helps us obviously stay above that state average. You can see the comparison to last year. Once again, the state average does not include those Algebra 1 students either. So that percentage is our students in those regular math classes. So 8th grade, this is the second year that they actually take science. You can see their comparison there for proficient advanced. Also see the basic and below basic. In comparison to last year. So we saw growth over this at 54%. The state average was actually 49% of all students scored proficient advanced. And we did see growth over the 2 years of 10%, so up to 54%. At our high school, once again, when we show this high school data, I went ahead and just took out all of our Algebra 1 and ELA 2, because honestly, it doesn't behoove us to even show that data. It's not bringing any light or attention to it, but it has been pulled out of there. So the first one that we have is our Algebra 2. These are students that took Algebra 1 in middle school. And then once they move up to the high school, they do not have to retake the Algebra 1, but they get the bonus benefit of taking Algebra 2 once they hit high school. But when they're in middle school, they don't have to take the math test. They just take the one Algebra 1 BSc. So it evens out everything. So you can see our number of proficient and advanced. And the greatest thing about this slide is there is no basic or below basic students represented on this slide at all. So it is a true testament to not only what is going on in our middle school with our teachers there teaching Algebra 1, but what is going on in our high school as well with our teachers teaching Algebra 2. So this is going to look like great data. We did go back 3 years on this for you to be able to see 3 years in the rear. For us to show and highlight that. So we had tremendous growth going forward in 2017, and 100% of our students were proficient advanced compared to the state average of 67%. So amazing growth. The next one we will look at is our comparison to last year. So you can see the tremendous growth that we had. And we went up in our number of students proficient advanced, and the state went actually down. So really proud of what our teachers and our students were able to accomplish there on Algebra 2. High school biology EOC, we can show you that data. So you can see our comparison for proficient advanced compared to basic and below basic. And once again, we did go 3 years in the rear on that data going back to 2015. So we had 70% of our students. The reason why that state says 0 is that data is not available. So you can see our proficient advanced there. 80% we did drop off there to 70, and once again that state data was not available. The government EOC as well. Sorry, I did forget about this one, but our government EOC is available for us as well. You can see our proficient advanced compared to our basic and below basic. And 3 years in the rear. So 89% of our students scored proficient advanced. Once again, that state data was not available to me, at least that I can find. So we did have growth in there, about 17%, so proud of what they were able to accomplish in government as well. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and cover ACT. I know it's got its own line item here on the board report. But so our English ACT comparison, we did do 3 years in the rear once again for you to be able to see from 2015 to 17. So we were at 18.4% of our students scoring, and then the state was at 19.8.
What do you than the truck?
Honestly, we've spent some time talking with Connie on this as well. We did not do, so in 2016 and 2015, we put a lot of time into ACT prep during those Saturdays. Last year was our first year with the AP, and those Saturdays were taken up by AP studying. And those students honestly were so engrossed in AP, asking them to come back in for ACT. Also on other Saturdays to be able to do those study sessions. We would have probably not had any students within that.
I know Ms. Morris and I had discussed that, and I guess it held true that it was better to do it on those weekends. You and I had discussed it briefly, over the scheduling and all that. And is there something we can do different? I don't know. I know it's tied up now with the AP.
So we have come up with a plan to be able to do this. I also want to mention in 15 and 16, correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, we also did at that time pay for our sophomores to take the ACT. So a lot of the 2016 data was those sophomores that had actually taken that test multiple times to be able to get that score. In 17, a lot of those students were first time taking it only as juniors, and that's the only time they took it. So they took that test one time as juniors in 2017. Not all students, but a large number of those students.
Was there any difference in bright light students from 16 to 17?
Actually, we had more bright light students in 17. We had 6 bright light students in 17 and 3 in 16.
So the board will hear more about our ACT plan for this year next month, but we've discussed it at length, and obviously this isn't something that I'm pleased to report, but I think there are some things that make a lot of sense as to why we're here. We talked about the AP focus last year and taking away. ACT is it's an interesting test in of itself, and there are lots of strategies that can make a difference between, a couple of points on the subject. So we're addressing that. We also looked and we're now testing, last year we were testing everyone, and maybe not every district did test everyone, but we also looked at that top 70% of our students, and we're showing growth in that upper 70th percentile. So we're going to look in more. I don't want to make any comments that are misleading because every student matters, but at the same time, we're going to get a lot more strategic in this assessment piece, and for obvious reasons. It's a stable, it's reliable, it's valid, and we want to make sure that we are setting our students up for success. And we incentivized our AP courses monetarily last year through our NUMSI grant. And we've talked about putting together a strategy to try to incentivize our ACT as well, and kind of put our money where it counts most.
How big of an effect did it have from 16 to 17 on A+? You know that? Yeah.
Our A+ students?
Yes.
I do not know that.
The ACT
It shouldn't have any
A+.
effect. Yeah. Your EOCs will,
EOCs.
but as I said, that Algebra 1 EOC and ELA will not count against those A+ students for this year, so that won't affect them. But your ACT will not. This is just college entrance. And as Dr. Miller said, this is a tried and true test that has been around for years. So we want to make sure that we focus on this.
And that's why I asked the difference between the ACT and the A+, because of the effect that it may have on them.
But it doesn't, they're not connected. A+ and ACT are not connected.
No, I mean for the failure of the test to be reported.
No, the individual scores still are reported for those students.
Yes, so the EOC individual test scores are still valid, is what we are being told. It's a composite, the state average, and that composite that came back as a.
Don't try to make sense of nonsense.
No.
I'll just leave that one alone.
Okay. We'll talk about it. Go ahead.
So with this, as Dr. Wheeler said, we will present that plan in place, and I'll spill some of the beans out beforehand. The scheduling that they have now with the new Panther Hour is going to allow us to actually hold those testing sessions within the school day. So those students that are involved in AP testing are not going to have to come back in on a Saturday, other than their AP testing Saturdays, to be able to practice ACT as well. And then we'll lay that out, the plan out for you guys just a little bit further. But there is a plan in place to be able to address this and move forward with it as well.
But we always reserve the right to use Saturdays if we find.
Yes.
Plan.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. So our math ACT data, you can see 3 years in the rear there as well. So we finished up at 19.4, with the state slightly above us at 19.9 for this year, for 2017, slight drop from last year. The reading, 20%, or 20 for us, not 20%, 20 for us and 20.8 for the state. And you can see 3 years in the rear there once again. Science data, we ended up just 0.1% behind the state average, and that would be a 20.4 compared to 20.5. And this is basically what it all boils down to, is this composite score that comes through. So you can see our average there at 19.7 for our composite, and a 20.4 score for the composite for the state. So once again, that is our ACT, that's our district as well, and I will entertain any questions you have.
I have a quick question. So this is every non-master student that has taken the ACT in 2017?
It is not. This is just the seniors. So we even had that discussion today. We've had students take this all the way back even as freshmen. And as I said before, we'd actually paid for this before for our sophomores to take it, just to give them an early look at it. ACT is that type of test, and if you can see it and you can practice it more and more times, obviously that score goes up. And correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, usually it goes up to 2 to 3 points each and every time you take it. For those students to do it without any type of practice. Yeah. So we're hoping that we can expose them to it early, and then give them some intervention and even increase that point. So it normally does go up about a point without any intervention at all. But this just is our seniors from last year.
And I thought, so last year the sophomores took it at school, not the juniors? No.
No, last year was our juniors, and that was 100% paid by the state.
Okay.
That has gone away. So the state is no longer paying for 100% of the juniors to take that. But we have a plan in place for that as well, to be able to take care of our students. Yes, last year's seniors did take it as sophomores, though, as well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
No.
That's what we had mentioned before. No, the previous year's seniors.
Yeah, the 16 seniors took it as sophomores, the 17 seniors did not take it as sophomores.
So the 2016 seniors took it as sophomores, not the 17. And that was the difference that we were showing you in those scores there. So they were exposed to that test twice, no matter what. If they were, because they had to take it, and then 100% of them had to take it again as juniors.
I have to say it helps. I made Riley take it as a freshman. She took it as a sophomore. She hated me when I dropped her off, but it does help, so.
Well, it's 4 hours for you to be able to go out and have a coffee.
Is there a reason why we stopped doing it as sophomore?
I think once so in 15 and 16, we went over to the 100% state paid for juniors. I think once they did that, we pulled that off as a district. It is something that we actually talked about in our office, about bringing that back and just allowing to offer that. We did not make every sophomore take that. It was voluntary for them to be able to take that. We did pay for that.
And a lot of
You want me to go ahead? Yeah, many of them did take advantage of that. Our thinking is that we offer that again. But those students have to come to so many study sessions to be able to take advantage of us paying for that. So that will be part of what we present next month.
So is it relatively expensive to?
It is not, it's $35, I think is what the total cost is.
I don't know, it's in that proposal. I don't remember.
35, 65.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
one of those numbers.
when we come down to it, it's worth us paying for those students to go and do that. Obviously, this is still reflected on our APR. This isn't something that will drop off. So we do want our students to be the best that they possibly can and be exposed to as much as they can.
Is there a correlation or a direct significant factor between GPA for a class, a senior class or sophomore class, as far as classroom participation and
And the ACT composite
state
score?
required testing?
I would like to say yes, but the answer truly is no. I had a friend that failed every single class in high school, and scored, yeah. And then didn't end up going to college. So, it just depends. I mean, you have students that are so bored in the classroom, they don't try at all. And so they fail, and they're so smart that when the test gets in front of them, they just blow it out of the water. And then you also have students that were 100% of our juniors had to take it. They knew they weren't going to college, so they probably didn't care and didn't take it as seriously as they needed to. That can happen as well.
It just so happens that myself and some parents were discussing this area, and I made the comment that the 16 graduating class was amazing. And they had like 4 bright lights, 3 bright lights. But you had more scholarships and awards for that class than any class that I could ever remember.
On the 17 class?
Yeah,
Yeah, last year's class, they did.
last year's class, I'm talking about, sorry.
So yeah, Connie said that there were 6 bright flags out of last year's. Once again, 100% of those students were tested. We want to kind of see the state average of the level not determined to see how many districts truly did serve 100% of their students and test 100%. We did. So I believe there was 1 student that did not take that test. 1 student.
But, you know, these parents were telling me no, but then everything, it's whether they take the books home, they leave the school open when they get home. I said, well, yeah, but these tests are preliminary judger on what you can expect. That's, you know, as there used to be a college entrance exam,
It still is.
you know, and years ago, when that's gone by the wayside, and all of this is taking place, I guess, to give the student the initiative or the parent initiative to write the check to go to college.
So the colleges still do look at ACT, and there is a minimum cutoff for certain levels of college. Certain colleges are higher than others, but community colleges usually are lower on that ACT score, and you've got your 4-year degree colleges that are up higher. They obviously take, I believe it's 18 is the cutoff for the entrance. Am I correct there?
Depends on the college.
True.
Yeah.
We did.
GPA has to do with your class ranking. And GPA has nothing to do with your college ranking.
It does not. It does not. They will look at, if you're in the, some colleges will look at if you're in the top 10% of your class or something to go try to get you in. But that ACT, if you can score right flat on that, you pretty much can write your check where you want to go. And so that's where our focus is.
But of course, we all know that studying will help you on your ACT. I don't want to leave it.
And lots of practice.
We talked about GPA today and, looking into that, looking at where they're performing in their classes and see what correlations we can find. And like Mr. Warren said, there are some instances where you just have a brilliant student that will blow out classes and nail the ACT, but there are also instances where you have a hardworking, smart, talented student that will have a very high GPA that maybe doesn't test well. So what we're trying to do is look at that data and look at the indicators a little bit more and see how we can best help the individual students and find those gaps. If we know a student has test anxiety, what's the best thing we can do for that student to help them feel confident and comfortable and ready to take that test? And then, if there's a gap where we don't see any real issue and it's a performance issue, if the football team or the basketball team scores lower than expected, we find out they've been out until midnight the night before testing that, the orange and black game, then we change that game and clear that night before so they're well rested. So we're looking at all angles, but our goal is to try to really get strategic and smart about this piece of assessment because it's becoming increasingly more valuable as some of these others are becoming unreliable.
And ACT is also a test that has some strategies to it that you can apply. And if you apply those strategies, you will increase.
I really like the idea of kids that are an hour and studying during that time. I can speak to the child that does really well in school, but then sits down for the test and it's all gone. And so, but the more they go through that on a very regular basis, the history be better for them.
Now, there are roadblocks that ACT testing and practicing, right? So you can't just, on your head without Bible.
No, they have, so ACT, just like all the other tests, they have released items that they send out there and practice. And our high school, those guys have been through that testing a lot, and so they know the strategies and they know how to prepare those kids and to help them along. In fact, the other day when we were doing walkthroughs, we actually saw some of those strategies being taught in a math class. And the specific language was, this will help you on the ACT, here's what you need to do. So the kids are getting it, and our high school teachers are showing it and displaying it. It's just about the access and the time to be able to give them time to practice. Yeah, if you can buy the test, don't give it to us because we don't want it.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. I know that was a lot of time and effort and work to put that together. Thank you. Under old business, we have the 2017-21 MCAS grant. I need a motion to accept the Dovia MCAS grant in the amount of $1.25 million. Seriously? Okay.
So then we're talking about the Gear Up.
Yes, you're up for college and career readiness.
I'd like to speak to that. Having read through this proposal or application that we had to send in and submitted, there's 27 pages of information compiled here. And I would like to say a great big thank you to our superintendent, assistant superintendent, and team of administrators for putting all this information together to bring that money home to our students here in Malcolm. So kudos to everybody that was involved. Great job. I know it spells out how you're going to do it and everything else. In there is a letter of recommendation. Paul Tibbetts included in that process or that application. So I know that you've dug really deep on gathering the information to send in. So we will get this. So thank you.
We would like to thank our base for helping us. I mean, you guys have been a tremendous partner. We truly appreciate it and all you do. And I do not want to take any of this glory because Dr. Wheeler put this all together and has gone out and come up with the idea to make this a grant that is something that we can roll over each and every year. And so that kudos goes directly to him and the hard work that he has done in finding that grant. Also, the $4 million grant, which I hope we get. It's all on YouTube, so give us some money. It's all about him as well. So the leadership that you have above me, guys, is tremendous. And we need to lock this guy in. He's doing an amazing job. He's finding great things and doing great things.
Well, it appears to me that countless hours were spent on this. And, you know, they don't arbitrarily give this money out to just anybody. You have to do a great job and say, you know, spend it wisely and, you know what you got to do. Great job.
I make a motion to accept the DODA impact grant in the amount of $1.25 million.
I second the motion.
Favor?
Aye.
Guys, thank you, and obviously I'm excited about this, but it's I did the work, but it's because the board is doing their job to allow me to do my job to go out and find these opportunities and bring them home. So I want to say thank you to the board for your support, for your focus, and the Gear Up. It's an acronym, Great Expectations and Results Urgency Plan, and I think we do have a sense of urgency to do more for our students in Obnoster, and we have greater opportunities here than just about anywhere else to go out and find these opportunities and bring them home. So we have a sense of urgency and we're going after that. But the Gear Up piece, the grant that was just submitted, this was Gear Up for College and Career Readiness, but this grant was written in the first of a series of grants because this is something we can go after every year. And there are some school districts out there that are lucky enough to get this grant cycle funded every year or every other year. So we set this up as the first in a series of grants. The second is our construction Gear Up for infrastructure. And we're going after that discretionary funds. Next year, we're going to go for Gear Up for STEM or robotics, and we're going to look at continuing to do that. So that is the concept on the grant. And I say that to say this to the board. I feel like we're just gearing up. We're starting to figure out our roles. We're starting to work together. We're starting to take advantage of opportunity and bring new things to our community, to our students, to our school district. And I hope that, you know, like the grants just getting started in a new direction, I hope our board and admin team are just starting to hit our stride and take off down the runway. So I really do want to sincerely thank the board for allowing that. And we need to continue to work together to set our goals and define where we're going, stay focused on the things that matter, and see if we can bring these things home. But it's exciting, and you know, our students win at the end of the day, and that's what we're here to do. So our base has been tremendous. We look forward to carrying on what we were able to accomplish during General Tibbetts' time. You know, we did a big hoopla for $400,000 last year with General Tibbetts. We got $1.2 million on the table, so we got to figure out how to get General Nichols and our other leadership up there to take take responsibility for what they're contributing right now as well. So we're excited about that. And again, thank you, Mr. Coron, for driving buses and flipping beef patties every day to make sure that we can have time to do this. To that point, too, I want to say to our principals, as we're allowed to do our work, we did instructional rounds this Monday for the first time in too long. I'll just leave it at that. And Mr. Coron and I were able to walk through every building and into most every classroom and see what was going on. And we're going to be doing a lot more of that with the goal of trying to find things that our teachers are doing well and find areas where they need more support. The focus of that walkthrough was to really, and Mr. Davis joined us as well. Is he still there? Oh, there he is. Hi. He joined us as well, and what we were really looking for first and foremost was how is our infrastructure working? We have a lot of new devices, over 2,000 devices on the network, and we wanted to look at what are the issues that are causing any kind of grief or complication for instruction. So that went very smoothly. We found, I'll give props out to the middle school. Of all the buildings, I think they had like 200 students on average during the time we walked through, and just lots of use of technology, use of the STEAM devices, put them to good work, and a very, very high level of engagement. So we'll be doing more of that and hopefully have some good stuff to report out along the way. But we appreciate what the principals do in their buildings every day. We just want to come be a part of it. So thank you.
Okay. I do believe that we are done. Right.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.021, 13, and 13 by roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And I thank you all so much.
Thank
you.